Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. Today I'm reviewing Dragged Across Concrete. This was directed by S. Craig Zahler and stars Mel Gibson, Vince Vaughn and Tory Kittles. And this is really the story of two police detectives who find themselves suspended when a video of their strong-arm tactics is leaked to the media. With little money and no options, the embittered policemen descend into the criminal underworld and find more than they wanted waiting in the shadows. It really focuses on these two police officers, Brett Ridgman, played by Mel Gibson, and Anthony, played by Vince Vaughn. And it really looks at the motivations behind why they choose to go down the criminal path. And the main focus is really Mel Gibson's character and why he chooses to do it. It's to do with his family. It also looks at Henry Johns, played by Tory Kittles, and how he's trying to support his family. When ultimately he's just released from prison at the start of the film, and he's ultimately trying to find ways to make money and get his family out of debt, to support his mother and his brother. And he goes about it in the only way he knows possible. And ultimately it's about these two lots of people colliding, which all leads to a sort of a confrontational bloody ending. This film I thought was great. I enjoyed my experiences with this film. I think what really stood out for me in this film was the relationship between Brett and Anthony, played by Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn. The chemistry together was fantastic. And when we got to see these two together, this is when the film sort of came alive for me. I liked the chemistry between the actors and the characters themselves. I like the characters that have been created for them and how they both have particular traits. Like Anthony, Vince Vaughn's character, says anchovies when things go wrong or things go bad, and it's sort of his oh shit moment or oh, damn it type thing, and I really like that. And for Mel Gibson's character Brett, it's all about percentages. 50% this is going to go well, 20% this is how I think this feels. It's all a percentage for him, and I really like that. It sort of gives these two characters particular traits that they are able to use throughout the film, which I thought was really great. And all the scenes with them together is what was the highlight for me for this film, and I was really sucked into their journey and their storyline and their motivations behind what they're doing. Like this is really great scene with Mel Gibson's character, Brett, where he talks about the reason he's doing this is he lives in this shitty neighborhood and his daughter's always been accosted by different people and attacked in many ways, and his wife, who has MS, is really struggling with where they live, and he really wants to do something. He wants to be able to support them and be able to give them a better life, but he ultimately struggles because of where he's found himself in life. Ultimately he's a cop and in the same rank he has been for the last 20 years, and he's always felt that if he stuck with the good partners and helped them out, then he'd get what's coming to him and get what he's owed. But that hasn't happened like that. So he takes it upon himself to do these sort of particular robbery in order to support his family in a better way. And it sort of looks at Anthony as well, Vince Vaughn's character, and how he goes along with his partner. He doesn't quite want to do it. He's not in the same position as his partner, and he doesn't really want to pursue it in a way. But the reason he does is to support his partner, and also he's in a relationship with a woman that he feels he can't give her everything that she deserves, and he wants to be able to do that. And that's a real draw card. I think Tory Kittles' character is really interesting as well. He has great moments, and why he's doing what he's doing is very clear. Throughout the whole film, every character we meet, there is a little bit of a backstory for them. There's little bits of moments we get to learn who they are, we get to see them in their own environment away from other people, and we get to see them as full-fleshed people and characters, and I really like that. It sort of made everything, it made it feel like there was something at stake for all of these characters, and they felt real and fleshed out. And I've never really seen this done properly. Some films do this, but a lot of films don't, especially where there's a lot of a cast and a variety of well-known actors. They don't give them such meaty roles or a lot of backstory, and we don't really know a lot about them going in. But this film really was able to do that and go into a lot more detail about these characters, so we did care about them, of what happened to them and what was going on in their lives. S. Craig Zahler, this is his third film. I've only seen Brawl in Cell Block 99. I haven't seen Bone Tomahawk, so I'm not quite sure what that film's like. What I gathered from Brawl in Cell Block 99 was he was a very gritty filmmaker. He felt like he was a throwback to the 70s type of film. He took his time to tell his story. And yes, it was brutal and gruesome in parts because of the violence, but that's just sort of the films he makes. And this film's no exception. It is quite violent in parts. I don't think there's a lot in it that requires the R rating that it does have. There's one particular scene involving key retrieval into someone's body, That was unneeded. That went on too long. I felt that was only trying to get the R rating. It didn't really add to the story, or it wasn't part of what the film was trying to say in a lot of ways. So I just felt that was unneeded. There's a lot of talk about this particular director, that he takes too long to tell a story, that his films are really drawn out, and that each scene is long takes. He works with long takes and shows everything. He doesn't cut them down like most directors do. And to some people this might be frustrating, because there is a lot of takes within this film that feel drawn out and unnecessary, and where they could have been cut down shorter. But that's not the filmmaker S. Craig Zahler is. He makes the particular films the way he makes them. He gives them a long time to tell a story, but within those long takes, it's very realistic, I think, of what's happening. Like in most movies, you'll see something happen and they'll cut to something else and then time will pass. This sort of shows you every single detail, everything that transpires. I really like the look and feel of it. I love it felt more like the 70s, like films like Dirty Harry and movies like that, where there's sort of grittier and sort of real. Like I said, all the acting is solid, even the bit players do a really great job. There's some really great moments in this, especially the third act, and this involves a shootout. This is really fantastic in the whole film. Like I said, all the scenes with the cops watching and planning the robbery is really fascinating to watch, and the choices they make. And you can tell throughout the film there's a great bond between these two characters, and they've only been together a short time, but they get each other. Another scene I guess is really good is sort of the beginning, where we meet the two characters, the banter that they have. And ultimately there's a cafe scene, which is kind of interesting. Mel Gibson's character is a bit out of time and place. He doesn't feel part of that world anymore. He can't assimilate, he can't do politics, he can't do all the stuff that goes along with his job now. And he struggles quite a bit. And being a cop really doesn't mean much to him anymore. And I really like that, and you get a real sense of that with it. I think the bank robbery scene's quite well done in this film, and you get to see how that transpires. I feel everything that's in this film serves a purpose. No piece of dialogue's wasted, no shot, no scene. It all adds to character, it all adds to the plot, all adds to the story, and all adds to making a creative and interesting film. And I think this is one of the best films of the year. Yes, there hasn't been a lot to compare it to, but this is quite solid. I think the real standout of this film is Mel Gibson's character. I think Mel Gibson's fantastic. He's an actor I've followed for a long time. I grew up watching his movies as a kid and teenager, and there's something about him really reminds me of my late father. There's something really about it. I don't know what it is, but there's something that draws me to. So every time he's in a film or on screen, I love watching him. And he plays this real bittered, sarcastic, old cop, old man, and he really is starting to play roles like that and really suiting it, where he's playing his age and a man full of regret and gruff and rough and violent, and that's sort of what his character is, and I really love that about him. And Vince Vaughn's his smart-ass humorous self, and I think the other thing that really is great is Tory Kittles. I think he's really interesting and plays a great performance in here, and he's another standout for me. There are a couple of things I didn't quite love about this film. It is a little long. I don't think it justifies its 2.5 hour runtime. I think it could have been told in 2 hours. Not that I felt the running time, but it just felt a bit too long for the story they're telling, and it took quite a while to get to what the point of the story, of what they were going for. I just felt it was violent for violence sake, like it didn't really contribute to the story of what they were trying to tell. I felt some of the characters were wasted, especially Jennifer Carpenter's character. We get a little backstory on this character and who she is and what her life's like, and her going to the bank, which ultimately is robbed. But they don't really use her. I felt they could have used her as the hostage that they have. They didn't. They did something different with her, and I just thought it was a little bit of a waste. And the other thing that I sort of struggled a little bit, but I just didn't feel connected to begin with until we met Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson's characters, and that's when I felt a bit more engaged with the story. And I felt the ending, it could have ended earlier than it did. But besides that, I enjoyed this film most of all. Final verdict. Look, I got a lot out of this film. I thought the acting was solid, it's well put together, and it sort of looks at the idea of regret. It looks at how the choices that we make sometimes can have a huge effect on us. And when we're so focused on supporting our family, sometimes we can go to extremes to do that and make decisions that aren't quite right, which can send you down this pit, down this hole, like Alice in Wonderland, down the rabbit hole. And you might enjoy the things that you find or the reasons that you're doing this. But there are clear motives for characters and why they're doing it. You might not agree as an audience member, but you can see why they've decided to do what they're going to do. And I think that's really clear in this film. And if you like his earlier films and sort of a good gritty thriller, you'll probably enjoy this. I'm going to give Dragged Across Concrete 4 out of 5. I thought it was solid, I had a good time with this, and like I said, it was one of the better films of this year. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit subscribe down the bottom. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.